Closely because the two units of study are fairly similar. So we can both answer any question about the two units of studies, basically. Any question you have, you come and see us or write an email. So what it is, this Thesis capstone project? It is their research project. The idea is for you to find something new. Right. So that, I think, is a key difference with a lot of unit of study that you have done, whereas the typical assignment is, here is a problem that looks very much like your tutorial or what you've done through the lecture, just replicate with a slight variation. We want you to learn how to do research in the course of 2 semesters. So it's led by you, you do the job, and supervised by an academic. We guide you. We don't do the job. We are there to help you define a nice research question, which is quite tricky to do, to tell you, well, you could, this question is interesting and feasible within the scope of your thesis, so 2 times 1 semester. And then when you get to do your own investigations, to meet with us once a week and discuss on your progress, questions, and then we can reorient like that and get you all the way to the finish line. What do we have in as an organization? You need to select a topic, which is very, very important. Then you need to formulate a research question that is quite specific within your topic. Then you need to answer the question to some extent, at least at 10. So to answer a research question, you need to produce evidence, you need to produce data, you need to analyze your data. So you need to somehow have a means to answer your question. Once you have all of that set up, you need to communicate in writing and orally. So your assignment will be writing a big report at the end, will be presenting short videos during the course of your semester, and a final presentation. Thank you. So let's start with selection of the topic, because I think this is really the first step. So that's the one that's going to come to you very soon. It's really important for you to think of what you care about. If I think of my own thesis, it's probably the only thing that I remember of all my studies. And I know exactly what I've done during my thesis, precisely. No other unit of study I remember what I've done. And that's because I cared about what I was doing there, and I was actually the one doing it. So think of what you like, what kind of thing you want to do, and how can you fit into your career plan. If you do have a career plan, I didn't. You probably are smarter than me. You might have a career plan already. You might think, okay, I want to become, I don't know, a geotech engineer, structural engineer, something. If you already know that, then you can try and select a topic for your thesis that aligns with that. Think of your team. If you do a thesis, you might work in a group. At least you have the opportunity to work with 2 or 3 groups of 2 or 3. If you do your capstone, it's only individual. Think of your teams. Be on the same page in terms of expectations and willingness to put the effort, and then it should be all right. Once you have that in mind, you can start looking for supervisors. We'll send you a list of supervisors in the field of research, what sort of topics they have to offer. That's going to be communicated to you. Today is a good opportunity to talk to the supervisors as well. So, we, in the School of Civil Engineering, we are fairly diverse in terms of field of research, field of expertise. We've got geotech engineering, structural engineering, fields, wind, wave. We've got geo-environmental engineering, transport engineering, humanitarian engineering, and material sciences and construction management. All of that. So you would find academics or even sometimes external supervisors who would be able to supervise you in one of those fields. So I think the first criteria for you is which of those fields get your fancy. Once you have narrowed down the field, perhaps even now talk with some supervisors. Very quickly, the question that's going to be posed to you is how you are going to do your research. So what sort of expertise you are going to develop, what sort of skills you are going to develop. There are basically two big ways of creating knowledge that we do in engineering. Either you do lab experiments in a lab, to test, measure things, either you do simulations on your computer. There are other ways. We can also go and do surveys. There's other ways, but most of our topics they are either on computer or on experiments. You can have topics that are more conceptual, that are more, I want to understand how things work. I want to have an answer to a class of problem, but not to a very specific problem. Or you can have topics that are very, very specific to a particular site. A solar farm, I want to understand how to design that solar farm on this particular location. So you've got a range of nuances, if you like, between something that's really quite fundamental and more conceptual to a topic that is more applied. Again, it's up to you what you want to do. So it's up to you to select a topic that fits you. So that's what I said just before, means of creating data, creating knowledge, computer or experiments, those are the big ways. Think of what sort of skills you would like to develop, perhaps even what sort of skills you'd like to have on your CV that can help. There's no better way than others. I personally like to both. It really depends on everyone. So I think I'm done. I'm going to give the mic to François, and maybe the one to move the slides.
Yeah. So hi everyone. It's really nice to see all of you today. Before you start this exciting series, hopefully, or capstone, you're excited about it. So I'm going to talk a little bit more, I guess, about the logistics of things. What things are going to happen for you next year. So the first step is going to be finding a supervisor. So as Pierre mentioned, it's important to find a supervisor that is that share your interest somehow, and that can help you, get the best out of your project. So how to find a supervisor? We are here today for that, and I'm sure more academics are going to join us a little bit later, around 12. So that's a really good opportunity, I think, for everyone to talk with different academics, maybe even try different fields that you wouldn't necessarily think about, but maybe see what people have to offer, what kind of interesting projects people have. And once you have found something interesting, either today or later when we send the list, a bit more of a detailed list of research interest, then you can contact potential supervisor by email, start a conversation, and see if people want to supervise you. And then we are in a more formal thing. So once you have agreed to be supervised by, or once you have agreed with the supervisor, there will be an online form to fill, Google form, and so maybe you will register your interest for that. So you actually register with a specific supervisor, not on a specific project. So that also leaves more flexibility for you as a supervisor to really decide on a project that suits you for in terms of how the work is done, so we have a little difference between thesis and capstone students. So as Pierre mentioned, so capstone student, you have to work individually, while thesis student, you can basically work in group of up to 3 people, and that is basically discussed with your supervisor. So if you have a group already, or if you want to work with people, then probably you need to approach the supervisor as a team and say, we would like to work together. What kind of project would be suitable for that? And then in terms of how the work is divided, it really depends on how supervisor organizing. To really go there, as I said, it's really up to the supervisor to see how things should be divided within your team. So just a reminder, only that capstone, sorry, I'm usually doing this presentation only for capstone. So, so basically it's a research project carried over 2 semesters, as you know. So it's either Thesis A in semester 1, Thesis B in semester 2, or for capstone we have a bit more diversity, but it's the same idea, the A part in first semester and the B part in second semester. You only get basically 1 mark at the end of the year. So that means at the end of the first semester, you will have a UC in your transcript, which is just you need continuing. You need to do both semesters to actually get the final. In terms of organization, so basically we typically expect that we will have weekly meeting with your supervisor during the semester. So and of course, it's your responsibility to arrange them, right? So you don't expect supervisor to take you if you don't come up for meeting or something like that. So you need to organize them, and of course, if something happens and you can't make them, you expect to tell your supervisor and make for the time. Now, as Pierre said, this is not a standard unit that you have had or standard course that you have had at the at uni up to here, because it's only personal work, right? You're meeting once a week with your supervisor, but all the rest of the time should be you working on your project. So, doing simulation, working on experiments, working on reading the literature about the topic and all this kind of thing. So that means that it's really important that you work regularly and that you, put a lot of time from the beginning. I think probably a few students that are finishing soon, trying to do all the work at the end it's not gonna work, right? So it's very important that you put the effort, and so in terms of to do the calculation in terms of credit points, it's about 10 hours of personal work per week, which is a significant amount of time, right? It's more than 1 day full time of work about your activities per week. So that's very important, as I said, to work regularly. In terms of assignment and assessments, again, this is just indicative. Of course, everything will be on the Canvas website when this is here. But basically, in the first semester, you will have 2 assignments. One that is just a short project description in week 2, so just 1 page, just to see that you get started on the project, that you have a supervisor, that you have a project. And then more substantial one in week 8, which is a literature review and project proposal. So, of course, in research, it's important to know what have people done before, what is the background that people have worked related to your project, and so that's really the point of this assessment in week 8, to get you to show that you have an understanding of what is the previous work, what is the state of the art of the project, how do you contribute to this project, where is your research sitting in terms of what other people are doing. That's in week 8 in first semester, and then of course you continue working on your project until the end of the semester, and then at second semester, so right at the beginning of the second semester in week 1, you have a mini presentation, which is just a video recording, to show what is your progress on your project up to that time. And then, well, of course, everything is the same. Everything packed up a little bit at the end of the semester. So you will have the final thesis that typically is due on right at the end of the semester on week 13. Which is basically the document where you report, what are your findings on the research project, what are the things that are left to do, what is the conclusion of the project really. And then there is a final presentation, which is an oral presentation, so that during the exam weeks, where so this is 20 minutes usually, where basically you present your work as a group. In front of a panel of academics and of your peers, right? So it's a kind of a public defense somehow. where you should have. And then for cities, there is also a management mark, which is a mark made by your supervisor, which basically encompasses, well, how good of you, like if you're working in team, how has the teamwork been for you, how consistent has been your work, how reliable have you been to come to meetings, or this kind of thing. Yeah, again, of course, everything is all of your written assignment goes to the meeting, so make sure that we are careful. And yeah, in particular, like with the literature review, it's important to make sure that you write your understanding of the papers and don't copy paste the papers. Basically, just make sure that we really want to see that you have an understanding of the paper and a broader understanding that is just how this paper is basically. Yeah, that hopefully is going to be a bit outdated, but who knows? So yeah, that's been a bit more flexibility in terms of how to meet and things like that. I think in particular for experimental work, it's a bit tricky with COVID in the last few years, but hopefully things are getting better. So that's a new something that can be done now. Hopefully with a bit more flexibility and even better next year, hopefully. Okay. So I think that's pretty much everything I have for me. Yeah, if there is any question, or if you want to move to the panel directly.
Well, the final thesis, there was like a max fee. What was that about?
Yes, so we don't want you to write like 200 pages of that.
Well, that's so, pages, I think.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, that was the key.
Thank you very much. Okay, so thank you all for coming today. I hope that was pretty insightful, the first half an hour. So the next half an hour will basically be our three panelists up and just be giving them questions. So you guys can make your way. We've got Josh, Liam, and Jasmine. And I'll just be starting off with generic questions that I'm assuming you guys would all have. And then I'll hand it over to you guys for any three questions that you might have as well. The first question, before I get this open, is I'm just going to get you guys to introduce yourselves a little bit and talk about what your thesis is and what inspired you to do it.
Hi, good morning. I'm Josh. Just wanted to say a quick thank you to Liz and Colin for organising Chiga, Colin, and Pierre Francois for that presentation. I'm a fifth-year student at the moment, so studying civil engineering and also doing analytics as a second degree. My thesis is on the experimental green side of ground anchors in shallow soil bodies using tree roots as a concept design. And I'm working with Pierre actually at the moment, so it's kind of almost Pierre, so it's quite nice. And I guess the process to get to that point was kind of, there's a lot to sort of think about when you start with this, kind of as sort of Pierre touched on earlier, it's important to think about what you are interested in, what you want to do once you finish your thesis, and where you see yourself going afterwards, because thesis, beyond just sort of being in the study, is also a chance to meet supervisors, meet people in the industry, and sort of get sort of more specific understanding of certain industry practices and things like that that can allow you to specialize in a certain topic and things like that. So when using a list of supervisors, I learned about sort of organizing meetings with 3 or 4 supervisors and then talking about different projects or studying across projects, which I think has me and the rest of my group more we find that.
I'm Liam. Nice to meet you all. I am my 4th year. I'm doing, so my thesis is modeling crops' response to climate change over the past 45 years. So with Federico Maggi. And so, yeah, that's, I guess, it just interested me because it's kind of a cool topic and I thought it's kind of an important thing to look at. But also, through my work in an engineering firm, I realized I needed to develop my coding skills a little bit, so it gave me an opportunity to do that. So that's sort of why I sort of went into researching that topic.
Hi everyone, I'm Jasmine, and I'm also doing straight civil and in my final semester of final year. My business topic is on measuring accessibility to social infrastructure. So it's related to transport. And my supervisor is Emily Wyden. She teaches 3-7 transport economics. So can I ask a question, how many of us have done that subject? And okay. Yeah, so the reason why I picked this business topic is because I found this video study very interesting. And it also happened that when I do my summer internship in the southern firm, I get to practice coding and using QGIS a lot. And my thesis also applied those skills, so I was like, yeah, why not just take this and continue practicing coding and making maps. And also if you're interested in mental planning and urban planning, you're better in the future.
Thank you. Quick question for everyone. Does anyone know what they are interested in or what they want to do for their thesis? Just raise your hands. We've got one going, 2 going, 3 going, 4. Okay. Pretty decent. Next question is, what are the most challenging parts that you encounter along the way, and what are ways that you manage your time to do research?
Firstly, I think one of the biggest challenges of doing thesis is tends to be related to the fact that with a civil engineering thesis, it is an embedded thesis, in the sense that you also have to do regular coursework, or at least I do have to do regular coursework alongside thesis. And because regular coursework, the nature of it tends to have more deadlines, it kind of is hard sometimes to focus on doing certain elements of the thesis when there are no deadlines to meet. Whereas for other subjects that I'm currently taking, it might be that there's something coming up which then becomes a focus because I have to submit that at a certain time, whereas thesis can be a put back a bit further because of, the deadlines tend to be more sporadic. As well as that, I also work 3 days a week at a project management firm and, pay rent and bills and things like that. So, that alongside with thesis and regular coursework, it can be quite, time consuming. So it does tend to be that finding time for thesis has to be, specifically locked in at certain points. You kind of have to create this rigid schedule, when am I going to do certain pieces of the work, and using a planner and things like that are pretty important, as well as corresponding with your group mates, if you have those, as the one there available.
Yeah, I think I found one of the hardest things is just getting started on it, or even choosing the topic, because you're sort of talking to this supervisor who knows a lot about that topic, and you don't want to sort of appear like you're clueless and stuff, but you also have to read all these pages before you can start to even have an idea of what you're going to be researching and things like that. So I think you're always going to have that process to not feel too panicked about that. I found that quite difficult to sort of just get started, because as engineers, we want to just jump in and go, all right, I can start doing my analysis and things like that, but you do spend a lot of the first semester doing your research, or your literature review, which is just reading a bunch of pages, which can be a little bit frustrating, but is also quite valuable because then you start to understand the topic. So it's just building up that initial understanding. I feel like it takes a bit of time, but it's worth it.
So I also agree that writing literature review more difficult for us because if you remember it from yes, presentation just now, the literature review is due in A of your first semester. So you actually don't have much time reading papers you need to finish your literature review. And also you will need a clear defined scope for your literature review, because if you don't know what the extent of your study and what's the purpose of your study, you just dive into openness of visitors and basically get lost. So it's important to define clear research question at the early stage of your study, and then you can go into research and do it with purpose.
Next question is, what's one piece of advice or something you wish someone had told you when you were going today? So if you're sitting here, what would you, one piece of advice you would say?
That's a good question. I think it's easy to look at these as being this big, huge report you've got to write, this 40-page thing to get a civil engineering degree, and it's this massive thing, no one's ever done, you haven't done this big research like before, and you've got to sit through all these papers and things like that. But I think ultimately, because you have, a whole year to do it, and you have people who work with, the supervisor can be really supportive in a lot of ways, and there's a good sort of support network there when you are doing things to sort of help you get over that line. And I think at the end of the day, it's really the learning experience to sort of find out what research is like, and don't be sort of really scared or freaked out about it. But I think it is kind of an enjoyable process at the end of the day, kind of more freeform and getting to choose the something you like to do, and spending time like really being interested in a specific topic that really can lead to a lot of really cool outcomes in terms of like either study or industry practice and things like that. So yeah, I would just say don't freak out too much about it, and it'll kind of work itself out.
This one is more relevant to myself right now, but start writing early. And try to write as you go in your thesis as much as you can, because I find like the analytical stuff is quite interesting and fun, and then all of a sudden you've got the 40-page document due in 2 weeks. You need to write it or more of it, and so I think a lot of my thought went towards just once I thought of the question, that's it, it's fine, I've done my analysis, but actually presenting that in a cohesive and a good manner is a large part of the thesis as well, and so it takes a lot of time. So put aside that time to do that is quite important, I think.
So for me, I'll have some more specific and practical advice. First of all, get a good device. So because doing the thesis is more about dealing with large data and working on modeling software. And so the performance of the computers really tries to work efficiency and also the mental code. And so definitely is to get organized. So systematically name and document all the outputs and all the work, because it's really important. You may have different versions of the models and different outputs, and when you go into the workforce, it's also quite important to learn how to document and things. So yeah, that's my advice for the house.
I'm getting stressed out. Okay, we've got one more question before we pass it on to you guys. What was your experience working with another student? Did you say that?
Working with students is really good. I really like the fact that this is a collaborative process, because a lot of the time I find that I get to the points in my sort of research analysis where I just start looking at things and I don't really know where to go with this, but having 3 minds working on something instead of 1 plus a supervisor, it's sort of like what if somebody years at the same time, and people kind of pointing down in different directions and all these different possibilities and outcomes. Kind of, it's really kind of exciting. That's kind of quite really kind of helpful. In saying that, I do think there are challenges with working with others as well, because everyone's got their own schedule and trying to fit in the time where like 3 people can meet with your supervisor every week, when you all have like 3 days of work, but like 4 days, it's really hard sometimes. So that's kind of really, but yeah.
I'm I'm not sure if I can probably answer this because I've been doing it, like, I haven't been doing it in a group. But, I have been working as co-supervisors, and, yeah, if you have an opportunity to, if your supervisor wants to, you know, get you to also send your work to other academics to review and to work with other people, that's a really good opportunity, because, yeah, they all have different areas of expertise, which is really cool to learn from. So, yeah.
For me, I feel like working in a group helps a lot in the brainstorm stage, so that you can have more ideas come together. The hardest part is also how to find a time that's suitable for both or three of you. And I also noticed that some of my friends, they form a group and then they have some arguments and conflicts and end up splitting. So I feel like it's like it's also like a good.
Thank you guys, those were really great answers. I think now we're gonna hand it over to you guys. Any free questions you have, get that going. And if no one wants to volunteer any questions, I have what you guys have submitted in sign-up form. So anyone, any questions? Yeah.
So Liam and Jasmine, you guys mentioned that you're doing some modeling work, and just wondering, do you guys know how to code before starting the thesis, or you learn as you go when you're doing it?
Yeah, I was lucky enough that I've been doing most of my stuff on MATLAB, and I already knew how to do that. But I mean, I knew a little bit, and most coding people you can just search up and they show you how to do it. Like so you do learn along the way. And one of my mates is doing a very similar thing. Hadn't had much experience with it, and he's still doing fine. So yeah, it's no, yeah, you don't have to have that knowledge beforehand.
So I studied Python and QGIS in my third year. But yeah, still said, I think you can always study through the pieces, although you may take more time and effort.
Any other questions?
I was just going to say that was my experience. So I was taught MATLAB as part of engineering computing, but I learned Python entirely through my thesis. It was summer project first, and then the thesis. And then later, while I was there, I was like, might as well do one of my supervisors units that also covers Python. But you can learn it entirely through your thesis if you're willing and that's something you're interested in.
Anything else? Yep.
I was just going to ask about like the teamwork kind of thing. So I've got kind of a two-part question, I guess. The first part is, do you find your teammates and then find your supervisor, or the other way around? And then the second part of the question was just going to be like, are you all working on the same question or just the same topic?
To answer the first question, it's possible to do both. You can sort of start looking for a supervisor and contact a few people and find out if they have any students who are also interested. Alternatively, you can also find a group and go from there. I personally was actually part of, like, I formed a group. They decided they wanted to do a thesis in project management instead of going to a supervisor for project management. I decided that that was what I was interested in and imagined that I would really motivated to do that project. So I actually then went elsewhere, formed another group, and then went to a supervisor from there. The topics I was more interested in. The second part of the question is, we are all working on the research is all the same. So all I do modeling on a finite element analysis for the 3D simulation, and we all run the stuff together. Like it is, we do sort of separate parts of it, but we're always using the same results. In terms of where it becomes a bit individual, where we get to report writing and literature review and stuff like that, apart from training resources, that part is all individual, so we all kind of, it is our own work. So yeah, I don't know.
Just add something quickly. I know, I'm not sure if it's common in supervisor, but my supervisor prefers to have individual students in groups, so sometimes they may say that, but.
So in my case, is actually invited me to change all the pieces together. So, and we also share all the Python scripts, results and future estimates.
Does your body of work become very similar because you are using like all the same things? I guess, like how can you guys?
Yes, it's probably yes. I think it's quite similar. Again, in terms of like the results, like we all have the same findings, so the conclusions are going to be the same. However, it's just the way that we decide to write it. And again, I think on literature, it's quite important that using those different literature parts are going to be very different. So that sort of the way we analyze those findings and relate it to the existing knowledge and theory in the field can be quite different.
So similar to what was said, we may focus on or emphasize different key points about ourselves in terms of results, but the results will be the same.
So obviously you haven't got to the point, I'm assuming you guys haven't presented it yet, right? No. So come that because all your thesis is completely silent. They would be quite, because they are quite different. How does the presentation work? Because it's a group presentation, correct?
Yeah. Again, I haven't thought too much about it. We haven't got to that stage yet, but what I understand it is just developing each group member speaks in terms of I would imagine the way it would work for my group, the way I see it working is that we would then, after we had submitted our respective pieces, we would then get together and share those documents, and then we could then use like the sort of collective information to build a presentation that we all understand and can, work on together.
Any other questions? Those were good for you, yeah.
But do you mind if I add just a little bit of discussion? There's another, like, so a lot of group work like you described, so people carry pretty much what what I've seen, and I actually have a group of people where basically you have one research question that you are approaching from different angles, so each of the students in the group focus on a slightly different aspect of the research. So, the group I'm thinking about two students, one of them is doing more experiments of the project, the other one is doing more simulations because they were stuck in China of COVID. And that's also another aspect that can be interesting because then you have a grow different evidence from different aspects for the project. So that's maybe also something that can be interesting. I think that's in terms of the presentation, maybe. So yeah, so the group presentation, so all together at the same time, and then typically people share the time to speak. And usually some people focus on slightly different areas, so that also that, the people who focus on a specific area are going to talk more about that.
No, thank you. Is there any more questions? I'm sure there's a few. Yeah.
Does this have to be very like technical, not modeling buffering, or it can be like more towards like experience share, like industry experiences and stuff?
No, it doesn't have to be experiments and simulations and not all these cases are like that. I had some friends who were doing the project management one that I was driving. Their research actually about the mountain buildings, and they did a survey which is put out to teachers and to like work out whether the mountains were an efficient way of using construction in a school sort of field. Also, I know that a group of humanitarian engineering and looking at designing or economics, economies of scale for like flood crises and stuff like that. So there's a few different options. You kind of just have to find within a list of supervisors and a list of topics and research areas, find something that you're interested in. If it's not data or simulations, you can definitely not have to do that.
If I can add to that, it is also possible to, because two students who work with companies, and they want to keep their food in the company doing what it is. And it's possible to set up a project that will of interest the company, so that we work with supervisor company and student. That happens.
Yeah, that's what I.
Yeah, something like that is possible. It's really to set up something like that. Maybe the best is to discuss first with the company, and then to try and find supervisor within that field, and see if they will be able to supervise you. Then they will be in charge of making sure that what you do fits the scope of the service. It's not just part of the manual engineer. It's something with that innovation or research development, and that is also key. That can go very well.
I guess we're going to have a networking session soon, so you can ask them in more detail everything that you need. Any more questions for the panelists? There was one question on the sign form, and it was like, why are we doing thesis? And I'm assuming that's because you signed up for honors. Is that correct? You got to do a thesis in an honors degree? Yes.
Actually more than that.
More than that, okay. Take it away.
Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. The current standards of Engineers Australia is that to be that certified engineer, you need to have either completed an honours thesis or a master's degree. So apparently in Melbourne, if you do engineering, master's is mandatory. In New South Wales or I think in Sydney, doing engineering, a thesis is a sort of mandatory component. So it's part of the certification beyond that of Engineers Australia and ourselves.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. I hope you all smashed it in your thesis now, you should know everything. I think now we're going to wrap it up. So thank you to our three panelists. We'll give a round of applause. And we'll spend the next hour or so talking to academics and help yourself with some food on the side. There's some sandwiches, juices, waters. So yeah, go for it. Thank you.